The emergency signal came in during the middle of the Galactic Council meeting. Ambassador watched as the holographic display flickered to life above the round table. The face that appeared belonged to one of the peaceful species that lived on the outer colonies. His large eyes were wide with fear, and his gentle voice shook as he spoke. "Please, we need help. The raiders came 3 days ago. They have weapons, they have ships, we have nothing. 200,000 of us are trapped here on 7. Our children are hiding, our elders are scared. Please send someone, send anyone." The message ended. The council chamber fell silent. Ambassador looked around the table. Representatives from 20 different species sat there, each one looking uncomfortable. They were known across the galaxy as kind and peaceful. They grew food, created art, and never fought with anyone. Now they needed help, and nobody seemed eager to provide it. A tall representative with blue skin spoke first. "This is unfortunate, but our military forces are on the other side of the sector. It would take us 6 weeks to arrive." Another one added, "The raiders are dangerous. They have 3,000 fighters. We would need at least 10,000 soldiers to face them safely." Listen to excuse after excuse. The truth was simple. Most species in the galaxy had evolved on safe planets. They had laws and peace. They had technology and trade. But they did not have warriors, not real ones. Fighting was something they read about in old history files. She cleared her throat. "What about Earth?" The chamber went quiet again. Several representatives looked confused. Earth was the member of the Galactic Council. Humans had only joined 2 years ago. Most species still did not know much about them. "The humans?" someone asked. "They are weak. I have seen their biology reports. They have no natural armor. Their teeth are small. Their claws are almost non-existent. They cannot even see well in the dark." Smiled. She had spent 6 months on Earth as part of the integration program. She had learned things that most of the council did not know. Things that were kept in classified files because they seemed too strange to be true. "I have a file I would like to share," she said. She pressed a button on her data pad. A new holographic display appeared. It showed a planet, Earth, but the information that scrolled beside it made several council members gasp. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 hazard world," explained. "The gravity is higher than most of our home planets. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling. The atmosphere once had very little oxygen. Predators exist on every continent. Diseases evolve quickly. Natural disasters happen regularly. Humans call their own planet a." "That cannot be correct," someone said. "No species could evolve under those conditions." "They did," replied, "and because of it they are different from us. Let me contact them." She opened a communication channel to Earth. The response came faster than expected. A human face appeared on the screen. He wore a dark uniform with symbols on it. His hair was black and his eyes were sharp and focused. "This is Earth Defense Command," the human said. "How can we help?" "Explain the situation on 7. She showed him the distress call from the. She told him about the 3,000 raiders and the 200,000 civilians who needed rescue. The human listened without interrupting. When she finished, he nodded once. "Understood. We will send a relief force. Estimated arrival time is 48 hours. "How many soldiers will you send?" asked. 5. The council chamber erupted in noise. Representatives stood up, talking over each other. Some laughed. Others looked insulted. One shouted that this was not a joke. Raised her hand for silence. 5 soldiers for 3,000 raiders. The human on the screen did not smile. 5 is enough. They are already on their way. The communication ended. 48 hours later, a small ship appeared in orbit around 7. It was dark and sleek, unlike the bright ships most species used. It did not announce itself. It simply appeared on scanners like a shadow. 5 humans exited the ship and landed at the emergency shelter. The leader stepped forward. He was not particularly tall or large. He wore simple combat gear that looked old but well-maintained. His name tag read, "I am Captain," he said to the council leader. "This is my team." He pointed to each person as he spoke. "Sergeant handles demolitions, Corporal is our marksman, Lieutenant is our medic, Private handles technology." The leader stared at them. All 5 humans looked so ordinary, so small, so fragile compared to the armored raiders who had weapons and ships. "You sent 5, they asked quietly. "There are 3,000 raiders out there. They have energy weapons, they have armor, they have—" "We know what they have," interrupted. His voice was calm but firm. "We reviewed the intelligence on our way here. They have taken over your capital city. They have hostages. They have orbital weapons. They think nobody will challenge them." "Because nobody can," they said, his voice rising in panic. 5 soldiers cannot fight 3,000. The human named laughed. It was a quiet sound, but it made several step back nervously. There was something strange about that laugh, something that did not match the friendly smile on his face. "Then this should be quick," said simply. The human named was already setting up equipment. Small devices and screens appeared from his pack. The one called was checking a long weapon that looked simple but well used, was organizing medical supplies with quick, efficient movements. "We will need a secure location to work from," continued. "Somewhere with access to your communication systems. After that, stay inside your shelters. Do not leave for any reason. We will handle the raiders." "But how?" they asked desperately. Looked at him. For the first time, they saw something in the human's eyes, something that made him understand why he had called Earth, something that existed in humans but not in his own peaceful species. It was the look of a predator. "We do what humans have always done," said quietly. "We survive, and we make sure threats to our friends do not." The team moved into the shelter and began their work. They watched in confusion and growing hope. They did not understand yet. They did not know what humans were capable of, but they would learn soon enough. The galaxy would learn too. When you asked for help, humans answered. And when humans answered, they brought something the peaceful species had forgotten existed. They brought the skills of survivors from a world that had tried to kill them for millions of years. They brought the determination of a species that had climbed to the top of the food chain not with claws or fangs, but with intelligence and the simple refusal to give up. They brought war to those who thought peace was weakness. The raiders were about to learn a very important lesson. They were about to learn what happened when you threatened something humans decided to protect. His fingers moved across his equipment with practiced speed. Lines of code appeared on multiple screens, each one showing different information about the raiders' communication systems. He had been working for only 3 hours, but he had already broken through their security. "Got it," he said quietly. Looked up from the tactical map he was studying. Everything. Everything, their ship positions, weapon locations, guard rotations, communication frequencies, even their food supply schedules. Grinned. "Their security is bad, really bad." Was cleaning her rifle nearby. She did not look up as she spoke. "How many ships in orbit?" 6, 3 heavy cruisers, 3 support vessels. The heavy ones have orbital weapons that can hit the surface. Pulled up a new screen. But their targeting systems are old, very old. I can disrupt them easily. Walked over carrying several packs of equipment. "What about the ground forces?" 3,000 raiders like we thought. Most of them are in the capital city. They have energy weapons and body armor. They are holding 5,000 hostages in the central plaza. His expression became serious. "The hostages are being used as shields. The nobody will attack if civilians might get hurt." "They are smart," said. She was organizing medical supplies into neat rows. "But they are thinking about normal military tactics. They expect a large force to arrive and negotiate." Nodded slowly. He looked at the tactical map for a long moment, then turned to his team. They will not expect 5 people. They will not expect us to strike immediately, and they definitely will not expect humans. Most species do not know what humans can do, said. She finally looked up from her rifle. They see our size and think we are weak. A aid worker was nearby, listening to their conversation. He had been bringing them food and water, amazed that they barely ate or slept. Now he spoke up nervously. "You are not weak." The 5 humans looked at him. None of them smiled, but there was something almost sad in their expressions. "Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years," said simply. "We had predators with claws and teeth. We had diseases that killed thousands. We had ice ages and heat waves and earthquakes and storms. Our own world was our enemy." "How did you survive?" they asked. "We learned," answered. "We adapted. We became better at surviving than anything else on our planet. We learned to work together. We learned to make tools. We learned to run longer and think faster than anything trying to kill us." Chuckled, "We learned that if something is trying to hurt you, you hurt it back, harder." The looked confused. His species had never known predators. They had evolved on a world with plenty of food and no real dangers. The concept of fighting for survival was foreign to him. Tried to explain it better. "Your people are peaceful because your world was peaceful. Our people are survivors because our world was deadly. It is not about being better or worse. It is about being different." "But you are so small," they said. "The raiders are much larger, much stronger." Stood up. She was the shortest member of the team, barely reaching shoulder. But when she moved, there was a grace to it that made the step back instinctively. "Size is not everything," she said. "Speed matters. Intelligence matters. Endurance matters. A human can run for hours without stopping. Can they do that? Our body temperature stays stable in hot and cold environments," added. "We sweat to cool down. Most species cannot do that. We can fight in conditions that would kill others." Held up one of his tools. "And we learned to make weapons, very good weapons, weapons that can destroy things much larger than us." They was starting to understand. These humans were not like other species. They had evolved differently. They thought differently. They fought differently. Turned back to the tactical map. "Here is the plan. You will take out the orbital weapons platform on the largest ship. Without orbital support, the ground forces will be isolated." Wen asked. "Tonight, use the darkness." Nodded. "I will need 4 hours." "You have 6. I need you to create communication chaos. Make them think there are problems everywhere. Confused enemies make mistakes." "Easy," said confidently. "You start eliminating their leadership. Target commanders and weapons officers. Make them leaderless." Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "What range?" "As far as you need. Start at 2 kilometers." The gasped. 2 kilometers, that is impossible." Looked at him calmly. "For you maybe, for humans it is just far." Continued. "And I will do reconnaissance. We need to see their positions with our own eyes. After completes his mission, we move to Phase 2. "What is Phase 2? They asked nervously. "We teach the what fear feels like," said simply. That night left the shelter alone. He carried a pack of equipment and wore dark clothing. They watched him go with worry. 1 human against a ship full of raiders seemed like suicide. 6 hours later returned. He was not injured. He was not even breathing hard. He walked into the shelter and set his pack down. "The orbital platform is gone," he said casually. "It will take them a day to realize the damage. By then, it will be too late to fix." "How?" I asked in amazement. The ship had guards, sensors, security systems. Pulled out a small device from his pack. "This is C4. It is a chemical explosive, very simple, very old technology. Most species use energy weapons now, so they do not scan for chemical compounds. They never saw it coming. You destroyed an orbital weapons platform with old explosives." They could barely believe it. Old does not mean useless, said with a shrug. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. While had been working, had been busy too. Strange sounds started coming from communication channels. Signals appeared and disappeared. Orders got mixed up. Raiders were being sent to wrong locations. And had set up her position on a hill 2 kilometers from the capital city. Through her scope, she could see commanders walking around. They felt safe. They did not know a human was watching. The first shot came at dawn. A commander fell. The others looked around in confusion. Where had that come from? The second shot came 30 seconds later. Another commander fell. By the end of the day, 23 high-ranking officers were dead. Nobody had seen the shooter. Nobody knew where the shots came from. Panic began to spread through the raider ranks, and returned from their reconnaissance mission with detailed maps and notes. They had gotten within 50 meters of positions without being detected. They had counted weapons, noted patrol patterns, and identified weak points. They are getting nervous, reported. They know something is wrong, but they do not know what. Good, said. Nervous enemies make mistakes. Tomorrow we increase the pressure. I need their internal communications completely disrupted. Prepare for infrastructure targets. Keep eliminating officers. What about us? I asked. Stay here, stay safe. Let us do what we do best. They looked at the 5 humans. They had been awake for almost 60 hours straight with only short naps. They had eaten very little. They had been in danger multiple times, yet they showed no signs of slowing down. How long can you keep going? He asked in wonder. Looked at him with those predator eyes. As long as it takes. Humans are very good at endurance. We evolved to chase our prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We can go for days if we need to. They finally understood what Ambassador had tried to explain to the Galactic Council. Humans were not like other species. They were survivors, hunters. And right now, the raiders were the prey. The raiders were beginning to understand that something was very wrong. In 3 days, they had lost 37 officers. Their orbital weapons platform was destroyed. Their communication systems kept failing. Equipment malfunctioned at random. Sentries disappeared during their patrols and were found hours later, unconscious and stripped of their weapons. Commander stood in what used to be the government building, now his command center. He was large even for a nearly 3 meters tall with thick armor plating covering his body. He had fought in hundreds of raids across the galaxy. He had never known fear. But now something felt different. Report, he growled at his second in command. We found another patrol, sir. All 6 guards unconscious. Their weapons are gone. No signs of struggle. No energy weapon discharge. It is like they simply vanished and reappeared without their equipment. Slammed his fist on the table. This is impossible. We have 3,000 warriors. How can an enemy attack us without being seen? Sir, some of the troops are saying it is ghosts. They say the planet is haunted. Ghosts, roared. There are no ghosts. There is an enemy somewhere. Find them. But nobody could find the enemy. Because the enemy was 5 humans who moved like shadows, struck without warning, and disappeared before anyone could react. Was creating masterpieces of chaos from his command station. He had complete control of the computer systems now. He made doors lock at random. He made lights flicker. He sent false orders that contradicted each other. He even played strange sounds through their communication channels late at night, eerie music from Earth that made the raiders nervous and sleepless. This is almost too easy, he muttered, typing commands. Their technology is 30 years behind ours. Was in her element. She had moved her position 3 times, always staying ahead of search parties. Through her scope, she watched officers try to organize their confused troops. She took her time with each shot, making every bullet count. She had already eliminated 53 targets. They were starting to avoid windows and open spaces. They were scared. Was having fun with structural sabotage. He would sneak into buildings and place small charges in support beams. Hours later, walls would collapse, ceilings would fall. Nothing deadly, but enough to create panic and confusion. The thought their own equipment was failing and were doing the most dangerous work. They moved through controlled territory, gathering intelligence and occasionally engaging in close combat. They had learned the patrol patterns perfectly. They knew when and where every guard would be. On the fourth night, they made a mistake. Had been attempting to hack into the commander's personal files when he triggered a security protocol he did not expect. Alarms went off. His location was revealed. Within minutes, 20 warriors surrounded the abandoned building he was using. "I messed up," said calmly into his communicator. "I have hostiles closing in." His voice came back immediately. "Hold position. Do not engage. Is 2 minutes from your location." "I see them," his voice added. "I can drop 3 from here, but the others will get inside." "Let them," said. "Can you move to the basement?" "Already heading there," replied, packing his equipment quickly. The warriors broke down the door and rushed inside. They searched the ground floor and found nothing. They moved upstairs, still nothing. Finally, they headed to the basement, but was not alone in the basement anymore. Had entered through a back entrance that they did not know existed. She stood in the shadows, silent and still. She had been a medic in civilian life, trained to save lives, but she had also been trained in close combat by Earth's special forces. She knew 40 different ways to stop an enemy without killing them, and just as many ways to kill if necessary. The first warrior came down the stairs. He did not see until her fist connected with a nerve cluster in his neck. He dropped without a sound. The second warrior had only a moment to raise his weapon before disarmed him with movements too fast to follow. The third warrior managed to shout a warning before silenced him, but by then, the others were rushing down the stairs. In the cramped basement, the size became a disadvantage. They could not move freely. Their weapons were too large for close quarters. Moved between them like water, striking pressure points, breaking grips, using their own momentum against them. Watched in amazement as his teammate took down warrior after warrior. It looked almost like a dance, a deadly, efficient dance. When the last fell unconscious, was breathing only slightly harder than normal. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "No, that was incredible." "Basic close combat training," said, pulling out zip ties to secure the unconscious raiders. "On Earth, we call it martial arts. We have been developing hand-to-hand fighting techniques for thousands of years. Without weapons." "Our bodies are weapons," said simply. "We learned that long ago." They left before reinforcements arrived, disappearing into the night. But they left something behind, a message on the wall in this own language. "You are being hunted." The remaining warriors found the message an hour later. They found their 20 comrades tied up and stripped of weapons, and for the first time, fear truly began to spread through their ranks. "What are they?" one warrior whispered. "They call themselves humans," another replied. "I accessed their communication channels. There are only 5 of them." "5? That is impossible." "I heard one of them talking. They come from a planet that tried to kill them. They evolved to survive anything." The rumors spread fast. They had thought they were the predators, the strong ones, the dangerous ones. But now they were learning what real predators looked like. Real predators did not announce themselves. They did not fight fair. They used intelligence and strategy. They turned every advantage against their enemies. Commander called an emergency meeting. "This ends now. We take hostages and demand these humans show themselves. If they care so much about they will surrender to save civilians." It was a desperate plan, but was a desperate commander. They grabbed a group of civilians from the central plaza and brought them to his command building. Then they broadcast a message on all frequencies. "Humans, we know you are listening. We have 20 civilians. Surrender yourselves or they die. You have 1 hour." in the shelter, listened to the message. His expression did not change, but his eyes grew colder. "They just made a mistake," he said quietly. "What do we do?" I asked nervously. "We do what we have been doing, but now we do it faster. I need complete chaos in their systems. Every alarm, every door, every light. Overload everything. On it. I need suppressing fire on the command building. Keep them away from the windows. Ready. Create diversions. I want explosions on the opposite side of the city. Make them think we are attacking from everywhere." "With pleasure." Turn 2, you and I are going in. We extract the hostages and we take their commander. No more games. We end this tonight. Checked her equipment. Time to show them what humans really are. 1 hour later, they got their answer. But it was not the surrender they expected. It started with every system in their command building going haywire. Lights strobed, doors locked and unlocked randomly, alarms blared. Then explosions began across the city, not near the command building but far away. They did not know which way to look. Then the shooting started. Windows shattered as bullets came from somewhere far away. Raiders ducked for cover, unable to spot the shooter. In the confusion, 2 figures entered the building through a ventilation shaft and moved through the corridors like ghosts. They knew exactly where the hostages were being kept because had pulled up the building's layout. They reached the room where 20 terrified were being guarded by 10 warriors. The raiders did not notice the door opening behind them. They did not notice the 2 humans entering. They noticed when the first guard fell, then the second, then chaos erupted. In close quarters, the humans had every advantage. Speed, flexibility, and thousands of years of evolution that had designed them to be persistence hunters. They did not need to be stronger than they just needed to be smarter and faster. And they were. 10 minutes later, and were leading 20 confused but relieved out of the building through a side exit. Behind them, 10 warriors lay unconscious and bound. But had one more objective. He found Commander trying to rally his troops in the main hall. "You," snarled when he saw the human. "You are the one terrorizing my warriors." Looked up at the massive commander. "No, I am the one ending your raid. There is a difference." "You are alone. I will crush you." "I am never alone," said calmly. "I have my team, and I have something you do not have." "What?" 4 million years of evolution on a planet that refused to let my species die. Then he moved. Commander had fought hundreds of battles. He had crushed enemies with his bare hands. He wore armor that could withstand energy weapons. He was twice the size of the human standing before him. But as moved, suddenly understood what the galaxy had not yet learned. Size meant nothing against a species that had survived by being clever, fast, and absolutely relentless. Did not fight like fought. He did not try to overpower. He moved like water flowing around attacks, striking at weak points in the armor that had identified from his scans. Every movement had purpose. Every strike targeted joints, nerve clusters, sensors in the armor itself. Swung his massive fist, was not there. He had already moved, his own strike hitting the power coupling on his left arm. The armor sparked. The arm went limp. What started to say, but was already moving again. The human was everywhere and nowhere. He was too fast, too unpredictable. His armor, designed to make him powerful, became a prison. It was too heavy, too slow. Targeted every weakness, cooling vents, joint connections, control interfaces. Within 3 minutes, armor was malfunctioning. The commander stood there, realizing he had lost, not because he was weak, but because his opponent understood something he did not. Victory was not about strength. It was about thinking faster than your enemy. "Surrender," said calmly. "Order your troops to stand down. You have lost." Looked around. His command building was in chaos. His systems were failing. His officers were gone. His troops were confused and scared. And all of this had been done by 5 beings smaller than himself. How, he asked quietly. You are so small, so fragile. We are human, replied. We do not need to be big, we just need to be smarter, order the surrender. Nodded slowly and activated his communicator. All forces, stand down, the raid is over. Across the city, confused warriors lowered their weapons. They had come here thinking they were the hunters. They left knowing they had been the hunted. The next morning, Galactic Council peacekeepers arrived. They expected to find a war zone. Instead, they found organized chaos. Nearly 3,000 raiders were sitting in organized groups, guarded by local volunteers. All the raiders had been disarmed. Their ships were grounded. Their leader was in custody. And standing in the middle of it, all were 5 humans who looked tired but satisfied. The council representative, a tall being with green skin, approached. How is this possible? We were told you only had 5 soldiers. We did, said simply. But 3,000 raiders. Are now 3,000 prisoners finished. We did our job, they are safe. The representative looked around in amazement. In 67 hours, these 5 humans had accomplished what would have taken a traditional army weeks or months. The final count was staggering. 2,847 raiders captured, 153 eliminated in self-defense situations. The command structure completely dismantled. Human casualties, minor injuries only, all 5 were still operational. I need to file a report, the representative said in a daze, but I do not understand how this was possible. Ambassador arrived on the next ship. She had been monitoring the situation from the council station. Now she wanted to see the results herself. The civilians rushed to greet her, crying and thanking her for sending help. Thank the humans, said gently. They are the ones who saved you. She found the team preparing to leave. They were checking their equipment, making sure everything was packed properly. They moved with the same efficient calm they had shown throughout the entire mission. I need to explain to the council how you did this, said Tu. They do not understand. Considered for a moment. Tell them about Earth. Tell them the truth about what humans are. Which is? Survivors. Earth tried to kill us in every way possible. Ice ages that should have ended our species. Predators that hunted us. Diseases that killed our children. Droughts, floods, earthquakes, volcanoes. For millions of years, our planet tested us. He looked at the city, now safe and peaceful again. Other species evolved on safe worlds. They developed culture and peace and cooperation because they could afford to. We could not. We had to learn to adapt or die. We learned to make tools to replace the claws we did not have. We learned to work together because alone we were weak. We learned to run long distances because we could not run fast. We learned to throw because we could not fight up close. But mostly, added, joining the conversation, we learned to never give up. Human history is full of situations where we should have lost, where we were outnumbered, outmatched, outsized. But we kept going. We found ways to win that others did not think of. Persistence hunting, said, packing her rifle. That is what we call it. When our ancestors hunted animals larger and faster than themselves, they would chase them for hours, days sometimes. The prey would run until it collapsed from exhaustion. We would still be coming, slow but unstoppable. Grinned, and now we have technology to help, but the mindset is the same. We do not stop, we do not quit, we find a way. Was the last to speak. The thought they were predators. They thought size and strength mattered most. But on Earth we have a saying. It is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog. We might be smaller, but we have something they do not. What is that? Asked. 4 million years of practice at surviving the impossible. Understood. She looked at these 5 humans and saw what the galaxy would soon learn. They were not just soldiers. They were the product of a world that had forged them through constant trial and danger. Every human carried the genetic legacy of survivors. Every human inherited the adaptations of ancestors who had refused to die. She returned to the council station and filed her report. She told them everything: the endurance, the intelligence, the adaptability, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The council chamber was silent when she finished. Finally, one representative spoke. "These humans, they are dangerous." "No," corrected. "They are capable, there is a difference. They only fought because peaceful people asked for help. They protected those who could not protect themselves. Yes, they are deadly, but they are also loyal, and they care about justice." Another representative asked, "What do we do with this information?" "We learn from it," said, "and we remember that when peaceful species need protection, humans will answer. But we also remember to never threaten what humans decide to protect." The council voted to create a new military classification: the Human Response Force, a small, specialized unit that could be deployed in situations that required unconventional solutions. 5 humans had proven more effective than thousands of traditional soldiers. The galaxy was learning. Strength was not just about size or natural weapons. Strength could also come from intelligence, endurance, and the refusal to accept defeat. Humans had all of these things. Back on 7, the children had made small gifts for the humans before they left. Drawings and handmade trinkets. Simple things, but given with genuine love and gratitude. The stoic sniper, who had eliminated over 50 targets without hesitation, looked at the drawing a small child had made. It showed 5 stick figures protecting much larger beings. His eyes became wet. She quickly wiped them. "Are you crying?" asked in surprise. "Humans cry," said quietly. "We feel emotion strongly. That is part of being human too." Gathered his team, ready to go home. "Actually," said, looking at his communicator, "Earth Command just sent a new message. There is a situation on station. Hostage situation. The station specifically requested humans." "They want us?" asked. "They want humans. Word is spreading fast about what we can do." Looked at his team. They were tired. They had been operating for days with minimal rest, but they were humans. They could keep going. That was what they did. "Set course for station," he said. "Let us go help." As their ship left orbit, they watched and waved. They would tell their children stories about the day 5 humans arrived and saved them. They would remember that when they asked for help, the smallest warriors in the galaxy proved to be the most deadly. And across the galaxy, other species would soon learn the same lesson. When peaceful people needed protection, you sent humans, and humans were always enough. The Galactic Council chamber was full. Representatives from every member species had gathered to hear the official report on the 7 incident. Ambassador stood at the center podium, a holographic display showing data and images behind her. "The mission lasted 67 hours from arrival to completion," she began. 5 human soldiers faced approximately 3,000 raiders. The result was complete mission success with minimal casualties. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives talked over each other, their voices mixing into chaos. Finally, the council speaker called for order. "This seems impossible," one representative said. "We need to understand how this happened. They are known warriors. How did 5 beings defeat 3,000? Pulled up a new display. It showed Earth rotating slowly, with data scrolling beside it. "To understand humans, you must understand their home world," she explained. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 hazard world. The gravity is 1.3 times galactic standard. The temperature ranges from -89 degrees to +56 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere composition has changed dramatically over time, forcing life to adapt constantly or die. Many worlds have harsh conditions," another representative interrupted. "True, but Earth has something unique. It has always had extreme conditions combined with extreme competition, Every ecological niche is filled with life fighting to survive. Predators hunt prey. Prey develop defenses. An evolutionary arms race that has lasted hundreds of millions of years. Change the display to show various Earth animals. Look at these creatures: tigers with claws and strength, eagles with flight and sharp vision, sharks that have barely changed in millions of years because they are already perfect hunters, snakes with venom, spiders with webs, bacteria that kill in hours. And humans survived all of this, someone asked in disbelief. Not just survived, they thrived. They became the dominant species, and they did it without natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no venom, no armor. They did it with something else. She pulled up images of human anatomy and behavior. Humans developed endurance. They can run for hours without stopping. Most predators on Earth sprint fast but tire quickly. Humans would chase prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They call it persistence hunting. Humans develop sweat glands. This allows them to cool their bodies during extended activity. Most species cannot do this efficiently. It means humans can operate in extreme heat that would kill others. Humans developed exceptional throwing ability. Their shoulder joints and hand-eye coordination allow them to throw objects with deadly accuracy. This compensated for their lack of natural weapons. But most importantly, continued, humans developed intelligence and adaptability. They learned to make tools. They learned to work in groups. They learned to plan and strategize. When faced with a problem they could not solve with strength, they solved it with cleverness. She showed images from the 7 mission. On 7, the human team used all of these adaptations. They operated for extended periods without rest. They used intelligence to disrupt enemy systems. They used precision and planning instead of brute force. They adapted to every challenge they presented. A skeptical representative spoke up. You make them sound like perfect soldiers, but they are still mortal. They can be killed. Yes, agreed. They can die, but that is exactly what makes them dangerous. Humans evolved knowing they could die. It made them cautious and careful. It made them think ahead. Species that evolved without predators often take unnecessary risks because they never learned to fear death. Humans learned that lesson millions of years ago. She pulled up comparative data. Look at these numbers: human reaction time, human endurance, human temperature tolerance, human pain threshold. In every category they exceed galactic averages, not because they are supernatural, simply because their planet demanded it. There is more, said. Humans have a trait called persistence. They do not give up easily. On Earth, there are stories of humans surviving situations that should have killed them. Humans who walked through deserts for days. Humans who survived in frozen wilderness. Humans who escaped predators through sheer determination. She showed historical data from Earth. Human history is full of battles where small forces defeated larger ones through strategy. They call them underdogs, and humans love underdogs because they identify with them. Their entire species was an underdog on their own planet. The council speaker leaned forward. What are you suggesting we do with this information? I suggest we recognize what humans are. They are not just another species. They are warriors by evolution, not by choice, and they have offered to help protect peaceful species who cannot protect themselves. You want to militarize them? No, they are already militarized. Earth has been in a state of constant conflict for its entire history. Humans fighting nature, humans fighting disease, humans fighting each other. War is not new to them. It is simply another challenge to survive. His voice became serious. But here is what makes humans different from species like the. Humans have empathy. They care about others. When they asked for help, humans came immediately. They risked their lives for people they had never met. That is not typical warrior behavior. That is something unique to a species that learned to survive through cooperation. The chamber fell quiet as the representatives considered her words. I propose we establish the Human Cooperation Initiative, continued. Small human teams available for situations requiring unconventional solutions, not as conquerors or occupiers, as protectors and problem solvers. And if humans decide to use their abilities against us, someone asked nervously. Then we deserve what happens, said bluntly. But I do not believe that will occur. Humans value fairness and justice. They protect the weak. They fight bullies. These are core values in their culture. Yes, they are deadly, but they are also loyal. Earn their friendship and they will stand beside you. Threaten what they care about and they will show you why Earth produced the deadliest species in the galaxy. The Council voted. The Human Cooperation Initiative passed with overwhelming support. News spread across the galaxy within hours. 5 humans had done the impossible. Other species began to see humans differently, not as weak newcomers, but as something much more dangerous and much more valuable. On Earth, military command received the Council's offer. They accepted immediately. Teams were formed. Training intensified. Humans were going to become the galaxy's protectors. But for and his team, there was no celebration. They were already on another mission. Station, where a mining accident had trapped workers underground. The station's own rescue teams had given up. The tunnels were too unstable. The heat was too intense. Nobody could survive down there. Nobody except humans. Led his team into tunnels that reached 60 degrees Celsius, heat that would kill most species in minutes. The humans sweated heavily, their bodies cooling themselves. They moved through collapsed passages, using strength and flexibility to squeeze through gaps. They operated in near-total darkness, their persistence and problem-solving carrying them forward. 8 hours later, they emerged with 43 miners, all alive, all saved by 5 humans who refused to give up. The miners cried and thanked them. The station commander offered them medals, simply shook his head. "We did what humans do," he said. "We help." News of this second miracle spread even faster. Orders came in from across the galaxy. Species that had never heard of humans now requested their help. A diplomatic crisis on Threshold Station. A plague outbreak on mining colony X-77. A damaged ship stranded in a radiation field. Humans responded to every request. Sometimes they succeeded, sometimes they failed, but they always tried. They brought their endurance, their intelligence, and their stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy learned. They learned that humans cried when they saw suffering. They learned that humans laughed in the face of danger. They learned that humans bonded with other species easily, treating aliens as friends and family. They learned that humans told stories of heroes who protected the weak, and that humans tried to live up to those stories. Most importantly, they learned that humans were different, shaped by a planet that had tried everything to kill them. Survivors who had climbed to the top of their food chain without claws or fangs, using only their minds and their determination. 5 years after the 7 incident, Ambassador attended a memorial service on that planet. They had built a statue in the capital city. It showed 5 human figures standing together, protecting larger beings behind them. The inscription read, "When we called for help, they sent 5. 5 was enough." Looked at the statue and smiled. The galaxy had changed. Humans were now known and respected across hundreds of worlds. They were teachers, protectors, friends. They were still deadly when they needed to be, but they were also kind. She received a message on her communicator. Another crisis. A science station under attack by pirates. The station was asking for help. Specifically, they asked for humans. Contacted Earth Command. "We have another situation." "Understood, we are dispatching a team. ETA 40 hours. "How many?" 5. Smiled. 5 was always enough. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, the message spread. If you needed help, if you faced impossible odds, if you needed someone who would never give up, you called for humans. They would come. They would fight. They would protect. because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, they helped. And when the peaceful species of the galaxy needed warriors, they found the best warriors possible. Not because humans were the biggest or the strongest, but because humans had spent 4 million years learning to survive on a planet that refused to let them die easily. They had learned those lessons well, and now they used those lessons to help others survive too. In a galaxy of species that had evolved in safety and peace, humans were different. They were the children of the survivors of Earth, the protectors of those who could not protect themselves. They were small, they were fragile, they had no natural weapons. But they were human, and that was enough.